A very good evening to all respected participants, scholars, students, and guests. Myself, Shauradip Odhikari. On behalf of Modok Trainer Academy, I extend a very warm welcome to everyone present here today for this enriching webinar on Indian philosophy and environmental stewardship with an emphasis on Jain philosophy. We are grateful to each one of you for taking the time to join us for a session that brings together philosophical reflection, ethical responsibility, and contemporary environmental concerns. Today's topic holds great relevance in the present global context. Environmental degradation and ecological imbalance demand not only scientific solutions but also deep moral and philosophical reflection. Indian philosophical traditions have long offered such reflective frameworks, and Jain philosophy, in particular, provides a strong ethical vision rooted in nonviolence, restraint, and reverence for all forms of life. It's therefore a matter of great privilege for all of us to have with us an eminent scholar whose academic journey and research interests closely align with these concerns. Our esteemed speaker, respected Dr. Murugesan A, is a faculty member of the Department of Philosophy and Comparative Religion at Visva Bharati University, Shantiniketan. Dr. Murugesan A's academic specialization includes Indian philosophy, Jain philosophy, comparative religion, ethics, and philosophy of religion. His scholarly work reflects sustained engagement with moral thought, nonviolence, interfaith dialogue, and ethical responsibility. He has contributed research articles to peer-reviewed journals such as the International Journal of Religion and Culture and the International Journal of Nursing Research and Development. His research writings explore ethical perspectives of religion and the contemporary relevance of Jain philosophical principles. In addition to his research contributions, Dr. Murugesan A is actively involved in teaching and guiding research scholars, including doctoral candidates, thereby contributing significantly to the academic growth of students and young researchers in philosophy and religious studies. What makes his presence especially valuable today is his ability to connect with classical philosophical wisdom with present day ethical and environmental challenges. Jain philosophy's emphasis on ahimsa, self restraint, and coexistence offers meaningful guidance in an age marked by ecological crisis, and Dr. Murugesan's wisdom articulates these ideas with clarity and academic depth. We are truly grateful and delighted to have with us such an expert speaker, Dr. Murugesan A, for sharing his valuable time and knowledge with us today. Now, with great respect, I invite Dr. Murugesan A to kindly begin this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your introduction. And am I audible? I hope I am audible
Yes,
to.
sir.
Okay, thank
Is
you.
it
Thank you.
possible? Okay.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Should I need to do something on my side?
Pardon?
Okay. No, no. Should I need to adjust something? Bharati ma'am, is it all right?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
so much. Thank you so much for confirming. Respected CEO and founder of Modak Trainer Academy, all the advisory board members, the board of directors, academicians, scholars, students, very good evening to all. Indeed, it's my joy and privilege to be here to deliver a lecture on Indian philosophy and environmental stewardship with an emphasis on Jain philosophy. I would like to again repeat my title, Indian philosophy and environmental stewardship with an emphasis on Jain philosophy. As the person who introduced me rightly pointed out many things in relation to the topic. Almost he has summarized what I am supposed to speak, how it is supposed to be related to Indian philosophy and environmental stewardship. And of course, he has highlighted the four philosophical aspects of Jain philosophy as well. Thank you. Thank you so much for such introduction. Not just he introduced me as an individual, and of course, you have introduced very well the topic as well. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So here, there are three major texts I would like to just tell you I have taken as a base for my talk today. The first one is Tattvada Sutra of Uma Swati, one of the very important texts in Jain philosophy. The second one, The Heart of Jainism by Sinclair Stevenson. The Heart of Jainism by Sinclair Stevenson. The third source for my talk is Classical Indian Philosophy, an introductory text by Jain Mohanty. These are the three texts just I have taken as a base and few more other supporting documents for my lecture. I would like to start with a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi very nicely summarized the relationship between human beings and the nature, the relationship between human being and the environment. The quote goes like this, very interesting. According to Mahatma Gandhi, the earth provides enough to satisfy every human's need. The earth provides enough to satisfy every human being's need, but not every human being's greed. He was relating to the need of the human being, and he was relating to the greed of human. So he was rightly pointing out, if a person who is greedy, not able to control the greed, definitely there would be very big consequences that we are supposed to face in relation to environmental stewardship, environmental protection, ecological crisis. Here I would like to just start with the few important basics of philosophy. There are three things I would like to just tell you here. With the entire talk would be like this: introduction, just a brief introduction to philosophy in general, of course, including Indian philosophy as well. The second one, by highlighting how Nyaya philosophy in relation to environmental protection and stewardship. The third one, the Jain philosophy and environmental protection, environmental stewardship. These are the three things that I would like to highlight here. When we start with the etymological definition of the term philosophy just originates from two Greek words, philo and sophia. The first Greek word is philo, There are times you will find it Phileo also. The second Greek term is Sophia. Phileo means love, affection. Sophia means wisdom. Sometimes generally we translate into, knowledge. Love of wisdom. A person would like to just, deep down to learn something, the reality. That's what we understand in relation with philosophy. As we understand here the term philosophy, of course, we must know a little bit the branches of philosophy, which very much related to each and every stages of human beings, particularly when we talk about how human relation with the fellow human beings and to the nature. Of course, the major branches of philosophy starts with the like metaphysics, where we learn the reality, the existence, and of course, epistemology, the theory of knowledge, the sources of knowledge that we learn, that particular branch of philosophy, ethics, logic, axiology, aesthetics. This is a way that we understand the branches of philosophy. We learn these branches of philosophy in both of them. Of course, Western understanding as well as Indian understanding as well. The Westerners also talk about the metaphysics, whether you start from the ancient Greek philosophers to the medieval philosophy, to the modern philosophy, to the postmodern philosophers. We understand in relation with all the branches time to time that we learn with a Western perspective. As we understand here in the Indian perspective, also very interesting, the Indian philosophical school also explain about all the branches of knowledge, all the branches of philosophy, metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, logic. We learn every dimensions in the Indian philosophies as well. When we talk about Indian philosophy that we understand, we all know well, there are two streams of Indian philosophical schools. The one is known as orthodox. The second school of thought is known as heterodox. The orthodox in Indian term we understand as Astika. The heterodox we understand as Nastika. The orthodox schools are 6 in numbers. By name, if you see that, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. These are the 6 schools considered as orthodox. If you also question why they are called as orthodox, why the other 3 schools are considered as, heterodox or Nastika, there are many reasons behind this. Of course, 2 major reasons: the authority of Vedas. Of course, the first 6 schools of orthodox accept the authority of Vedas, whereas heterodox, they don't accept the authority of Vedas. That's what we understand. Of course, the second one, except Sankhya and Mimamsa, most of the other orthodox schools accept the existence of God, whereas heterodox, Charvaka, Jain, and Buddhist philosophies don't accept the existence of God. These are the 2 major reasons that we understand orthodox and heterodox. Tonight, I just like to highlight one school from orthodox, how we can relate to the environmental stewardship. The second one, of course, from heterodox, particularly Jain philosophy in relation to environmental stewardship. These are the 2 schools that I would like to highlight. So the first part just I have completed with just an introduction to philosophy, particularly in Indian philosophy as well. Now, by highlighting Nyaya, the school of Nyaya in relation to environmental stewardship. When we understand Nyaya, of course, it is known as the school of logic, the logical reasoning. We understand that the Nyayikas try to explain everything in relation to logic, the logical construction. We understand that The argument built by Nyayikas, it is very systematic to argue and understand how they are against the schools which are just coming against them, and what the way they construct the logical argument that they are known for. So Nyayikas we understand in relation with particularly epistemology. I would like to highlight here the sources of knowledge. The sources of knowledge in Nyayikas just we understand in relation with the four major sources. The first four major sources I would like to highlight here, where we can understand the environmental stewardship. The four sources of knowledge we understand in relation to the first one is Pratyaksha Pramana, the observatory knowledge. The observatory knowledge which we understand in relation to all the five senses of human beings: seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, and touching. These are all the five senses in relation to the knowledge. Nyayikas very much accept that. The sources of knowledge. First sources of knowledge. The second source of knowledge is Anuman, the inferential knowledge. The knowledge through inference. We're supposed to, infer something in order to just make a kind of a conclusion, if at all, that it is not only just we depend on observatory knowledge, but still the inference which the person undergoes, that is also most important. Nyayikas accept that as a valid source of knowledge. The third source of knowledge, according to Nyayikas, is Anuman, sorry, Upaman, Upamana, a comparative knowledge, known to unknown. We try to understand, we try to expand the knowledge which is not known, which we relate to the which is not known exactly, we relate to the known one. The known to unknown become unknown is known. This is what Nyayikas explain about the third source of knowledge. The fourth source of knowledge is known as Shabda Pramana. Shabda, the valid testimony. Now, how do we relate to the environmental stewardship here? Of course, when we just bring out these all the classical philosophy of India, it is supposed to be learned in the context also. If it is not relevant to my context, definitely the philosophies or even any kind of knowledge may not be accepted as knowledge or effective knowledge. That is the biggest problem. Of course, we keep it everything as an abstract level. It is not at all used in the practical life or in the day-to-day life. Then there is no need of that at all. But the relevance of this classical philosophical knowledge we understand in relation to the context what we undergo. As we all know that the ecological crisis that we understand, the environmental degradation that we undergo. The environmental degradation we understand in multiple layers, whether it is an air pollution or noise pollution, soil contamination, deforestation. The consequences of these, all the things we understand in relation to the global warming, climate change. These are all the biggest problems that we face. Which way that we are going to relate to the Indian knowledge system, particularly such a classical text and the classical philosophy like Nyayikas, even the other school of thought, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, the other schools as well, it's supposed to be relevant to my context. Now, when we understand these are the four sources of knowledge of Nyayikas, we understand that by observation, we know well how the way that we undergo the climate changes and environmental degradation, and it is the human responsibility to be very careful to take care of the nature. There comes stewardship. The term stewardship, very clearly we understand that we are supposed to be the caretakers. We are the caretakers. Now we understand that Nyayika is trying to explain the observatory knowledge, the inferential knowledge, the comparative knowledge, the testimonial knowledge. We are very clear that it is supposed to be relevant to the context. Now, as a human being, we are supposed to make use of our knowledge in a constructive manner. This is what I would like to emphasize here. When I decode the sources of knowledge understood by explained by Nyayikas, I just relate to the context where I undergo that being human beings are knowledgeable with life, we supposed to take care of the nature. Again, I just relate to, as I started with Mahatma Gandhi quote, yet provides enough to every human need, not the greed. Now we must realize this. This is a fact now. Now this is a very important thing. We human beings are supposed to be responsible towards the nature. This is what we understand in relation to Nyayika's understanding of stewardship. In the way, if you understand all together, I just quoted the observatory knowledge, the Pratyekta Praman. Whereas if you understand with other aspects, of course, the inference, the imperative knowledge that we infer, of course, if I continue with this all the way, the exploiting the nature or degrading the nature, definitely the future will be very big question, suppose. We may not be able to survive. Now it's a very great warning that we face. Of course, we know well if we go through the articles which are just related to this environmental protection, you will come across very well what all the way we supposed to take care of the nature, friends. We are just missing. Now, Nyayika's understanding of sources of knowledge very much relevant. That how we supposed to make use of our knowledge, how we supposed to make use of our knowledge in a constructive way, particularly to protecting the nature, is important. This is what the way we understand the Indian philosophy here, particularly with Orthodox. I would like to come to the next one. Of course, in my topic I have given Indian philosophy and environmental stewardship with an emphasis on Jain philosophy. I would like to take some more time with Jain philosophy. Of course, Jain philosophy falls under the second category of Indian philosophical school of thought, that is heterodox. The Indian terminology is Gnostica. Now, Jainism. Before I relate Jain philosophy in relation to environmental stewardship, I would like to just give you a brief background to Jainism. That's very important. Of course, you might have come across the basic text of Jainism or about Jainism. If you read, you will know that how it is important philosophy, how it is a very relevant philosophy today. That too, where we supposed to relate to the environmental stewardship. If we come across philosophical traditions in India and Western philosophy and the religious traditions, most of the philosophy, most of the religious beliefs and practices support protecting nature. There is no doubt about that. Whereas with Jainism, they go one step ahead, I would say that. Multiple religious traditions, of course, never support for degrading, exploiting the nature. But Jain philosophy further, when we talk about the stewardship, very clearly talks about how we supposed to relate to the nature. That's a speciality or peculiarity of Jainism. Now, a brief introduction to Jainism. I say the term Jain itself is very interesting. The very definition of the term Jain, we understand as conqueror. A person want to conquer. Now, it is not related to the material level. It is not just connected to the political term as conqueror in relation to the war, but it is so much related to the spiritual connotation. Jain, the term, if we understand that, a person want to conquer the greed, conquer the things which are very much connected to the materialism. This is the way that we understand the term Jain. Conquering the greed. I'm again coming back to the quote. According to Mahatma Gandhi, the earth provides enough. The earth provides enough to satisfy the need, but not the greed. Now, a Jain philosophy, and the very term Jain means one who conquers the greed. This is what we understand in relation to Jain, the term. Now, there are 24 Tirthankaras, starting from Rishabhadev, and the 24th Tirthankara was Lord Mahadev. The first Tirthankara was Lord Rishabhadev. The last, or the 24th Tirthankara, who is known as Lord Mahadev. Now, all the 24 Tirthankaras have taught how the person is supposed to conquer the greed, how to come out of jealous, how to come out of all the nature which are not accepted, and kill those all the nature which is considered as papa, according to Jain philosophy, which are considered as a bad karma, and working towards liberation, which is known as moksha. This is a very interesting concept. All the 24 Tirthankaras are considered as a conqueror who conquered all the material level, who conquered all kind of greed, and they attained the omniscience, the keval jnana, the moksha. This is what we understand in relation to the term Jain and 24 Tirthankaras in Jainism. The scripture of Jainism is known as collectively just Jain Agamas, Angas, Purvangas that we have, Purvas of course, which are lost, Upangas, and one of the philosophical texts, as I told you, these are my major sources, that I'm going to take one important concept from there, Tattvara Sutra, the philosophical text of Jainism. Tattvara Sutra was written by Umaswati. Now, when we understand very briefly Jain philosophy talks about 9 tattvas, of course, starting from Jiva, which is considered a soul, a Jiva, non-soul, the matter. We talk about very much Punya, Papa, and if Papa continues with the soul, considered as Bandha, the bondage of soul. If the soul is bonded, of course, that is known as, a sarva, the influx of karma, that the soul is bonded. Now, once the soul is bonded, of course, the soul is supposed to come out from the bondage. They're supposed to stop the bad karma, which is known as samvara in Jainism. And once the stoppage of karma is known as samvara, the accumulated karma must be exhausted. That is called nirjara. Once these 8 stages are over, the soul can walk towards real, that keval jnana, omniscience, time, moksha. These are the 9 steps logically constructed in Jainism. The 9 stages of philosophy very clearly talks about how the soul is supposed to progress towards the liberation, moksha. Now, I'm not going to just take these all the concepts philosophically. I would like to relate to environmental stewardship. That's a major, concept that I have here and here. Now, when we understand Jain philosophy in relation with environmental stewardship, I would like to highlight 5 major things. The 5 important aspects of Jain philosophy very directly addresses the environmental protection, the human stewardship. The 5 important aspects of this particular Jain philosophy, which are the things that I'm going to tell you, very directly addresses the environmental protection, very directly emphasizes on the environmental stewardship. The first one is three Ratnas of Jainism, which was taught by Lord Mahavir. Three Ratnas of Jainism: Samyak Darshana, Samyak Jnana, Samyak Charitra. What is that exactly? Samyak Darshana is known as right view. Roughly, it would be translated as right faith. Right faith is emphasized as a first Ratnas of Jainism. What it talks about exactly here, a person supposed to have faith on all the teachings of 24 Tirthankara scripts. Starting from Rishabhadev, the first Tirthankara, the last Tirthankara of Jain philosophy, of Jainism is Lord Mahavir. All the Tirthankara's teachings are very important. Having faith on these Tirthankaras, that is known as right faith or right view. Samyak Jnana, the second Triratnas of three jewels of Jainism is right knowledge. The knowledge, as we understand according to Jain philosophy, it is just not limited to the spiritual knowledge. The person, one who realizes himself or herself, the self-realization, at the same time, the person supposed to have real, the knowledge in relation to the fellow human beings and to the nature. This is also important. So this is what we understand very much in relation to the three Ratnas of Jainism. The third one, right conduct, Samyak Charitra, Samyak Darshana, Samyak Jnana, Samyak Charitra. Right conduct. What is exactly here? If I want to test my knowledge, if I want to just test my faith, though it is the last one, third jewel or the third Ratna of three Ratnas, but it is a foundation of all, the right conduct. The ethical conduct is very much emphasized in Jainism. So this is the first aspect of Jainism in relation to environmental stewardship, environmental protection. The second important Jain philosophy we understand in relation to Mahavratas. Actually, Jain philosophy talks about vratas. Vratas means oath, the action, the good action, and they understand in two ways, Maha and Anu. Mahavratas and Anuvratas. Mahavratas are known as great vows. Anuvratas are known as the lighter vows, small vows. Now, nothing different as such. Actually, Mahavratas are very much prescribed for the Jain monks and nuns, whereas Anuvratas are for the lay people. And then it is not the lay people just to stick to only Anuvratas, but they must come to the level of Mahavratas. Actually. But the lay people must start with Anuvratas and progress towards Mahavratas. Whereas for the monks and nuns of Jain, supposed to stick to Mahavratas. Now, Mahavratas, Anuvratas, you understand the same way the five first vratas, starting with Ahimsa, non-violence, which is very much related to the environmental stewardship, environmental protection, very relevant to the context what we undergo. The second one, Satya, truth speaking. It is not only truth speaking in relation to the individual to individual, supposed to the nature as well. We are supposed to be very truthful to the nature, faithful to the nature. Of course, if you see that Satya, Asteya, non-stealing, that comes the greed. The greed just accumulations. When we accumulate, when I not able to control my greed, definitely I try to accumulate it like a steal. Of course, when I steal the resources, the natural resources, this is what we understand relation to environmental stewardship. And of course, goes with the brahmacharya, and the last one is aparigraha, non-possession. Now, all the 5 stages of Mahavratas we understand close to nature, the environmental stewardship in Jain philosophy. So the first one is three ratnas, closely related to environmental stewardship. The second one, Mahavratas of Jainism, very closely related to the environmental stewardship. The third one, I would like to quote from Satbrata Sutra of Jainism, which was written by Vimaswati, the philosophical text of Jainism, where he talks about one important term, the phrase is called Parasparo Graha Jivanam. I would like to repeat again, Parasparo Graha Jivanam. If I translate the term Parasparo Graha Jivanam, there are multiple ways you can translate it. I would like to highlight two important ways to translate how it is close to the nature, environmental protection. Parasparo Graha Jivanam can be translated as souls render service to one another. Souls render service to one another. What is exactly here? According to Jainism, it is not only human beings are having soul, even every living creature also possesses soul. That is very important. If you might have observed a Jain monk or nun, you might have observed it, they cover the nose and mouth with a mask. We all familiar with the mask, of course, we know very well 2019, 20 and 21 during the period of COVID pandemic, coronavirus. During the COVID pandemic, just we were started to wear mask, of course. In fact, if I look personally, if you ask me, the mask I never touched at all. During the period of COVID-19, I have seen mask and I touched the mask. Of course, in many of you also experienced the same. But with the Jain monks and nuns, throughout the life they wear masks. What is the sense there? What they want to teach there? What is the emphasis that they make? They don't want to kill even the insects which are in the air. It seems to be very difficult for you and me, and it maybe seems to be very funny or it seems to be very foolish. But friends, I would like to tell you here, really, they are very sensitive. The Jain philosophy teaches in such a way to understand, to respect the creatures which are around us. That's why even you see the Jain monks when they walk, you might have observed, they use the peacock feathers those days, and they don't want to, knowingly or unknowingly, don't want to kill even the insects which are down, like an ant or something, that they don't want to. What is the sense here exactly? Because of Parasparo Graha Jivanam. The souls render service to one another. In other words, as I told you, there are two ways that I would like to translate the phrase Parasparo Graha Jivanam. The other one is live and let live. If we roughly translate Parasparo Graha Jivanam of Jainism, live and let live. I live, let other creatures also live. I live, let other plants also live. What an excellent philosophy we understand in James. So this is the third philosophical aspect of Jainism in relation to environmental stewardship. The first one is Three Ratnas. The second one I said Mahavratas, particularly Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Aparigraha, and Parasparo Graha Jivanam is the third one, which is closely related to environmental stewardship. Friends. The fourth aspect of Jain philosophy is Jiva Daya. If we translate Jiva Daya, compassion towards all living creatures, the compassion. Jain philosophy emphasizes on compassion. If we have this compassion, if we develop this compassion, definitely the person is able to respect the nature and protect the nature. So Jiva Daya emphasizes on the compassion towards all living creatures and the nature. The fifth one, the last one in Jain philosophy, we understand that Maitri. The term Maitri denotes friendship, friendliness. Jain philosophy emphasizes on friendliness not only with the fellow human beings, but with all, with nature, particularly with nature, the environment. Friends, I would like to tell you all the five aspects of Jain philosophy, starting from three Ratnas to the last one, Maitri. We understand that Jain philosophy emphasizes on stewardship. So, as we understand from the Indian philosophy, very particularly from Nyaya, the sources of knowledge, how the knowledge, the person who is knowledgeable, the person who is having that sense, the knowledge includes the sense also, supposed to take care of the nature. Jain philosophy further goes step by step how human beings are responsible towards the nature. So we supposed to protect the nature. Where I have come across with one of the important statement I would like to just tell you here. We are not owner of the nature. Most of the time we feel that we are owner. And then it is not only that just we are not only limiting with the owner, that ownership takes further to take our own advantage to even destroy and kill that what I want to or you want to. This is the biggest problem here. Now Jain philosophy, the Jain principles, the ethical principles never accepted. Jain philosophy and ethical principles just very clearly say that you and I are supposed to take care of the nature. We are the caretakers, not the owners. We are not the owners of the nature. We are the caretakers of the owner, nature. Now, this sense we understand very much from even Nyaya also, and we understand from Jain philosophy also. Now, both, if I conclude together in relation to, the level if you see there, the Jain philosophy very much emphasizes the individual responsibility. The individual is very responsible. The individual is supposed to respect the nature. The individual is supposed to protect the nature. If you come across the sequence of the period from the early period to the today, these are the stages that we come across in relation to nature. When I say in relation to nature, human beings in relation to the nature, the environment. The very early period of the classical period, we understand it, whether in, Indian as well as Western, theocentric. Theo, the Greek term theos means God. It's a God-centric. Now, most of the things emphasized based on the God-centric, theocentric. All the things explained and interpreted in relation to God-centric. And later, if we see that, we have come across to the other centric, which is known as anthropocentric. Anthropos, the Greek word again, human-centric. So from the God-centric, most everything explained, interpreted in relation to God-centric. Then we have come to the human-centric. Human became the center. Rest of everything is around human being. And people started to explain or interpret most of the things in relation to human-centric. But today, we try to understand again, of course, you know, few years, 20 years before, we started to understand in relation to ecocentric, everything in relation to ecology. So now, from God-centric to human-centric to ecocentric, we understand that nature plays a major role. Of course, we are related to nature. We are very closely related to the nature. This is what we understand from Indian philosophy. So the Indian philosophy, particularly Jain philosophy, talks about how human beings are supposed to realize his or her mistakes. That's very important here. If I just make an application here at the end of this talk or the lecture or the presentation, whatever you call, the application is we supposed to realize it. The self-realization is very important. I supposed to realize. The realization is very important. Unless and until a person realizes, definitely he or she will not know or accept it, what's happening around with the nature. This is the biggest problem that we undergo. So the self-realization is important. That's what we understand in relation with the sources of knowledge in the eye of philosophy. I must observe it. The observation must make some kind of sense in me. It was not just 50 years before. Why it is now? What is the reason that climate change is such a way drastic? Now, the observation is very important. Now, it's not only just observing and leaving, and we must understand it and we must accept it, and we must change. The change is very important. The individual change is very important. The mindset supposed to change. Now, this is the way we're supposed to protect the nature. Now, it is very important. See, every individual's responsibility, friends. It's not only you and me, as a person who introduced the today's talk. Now, you are spelling very clearly, of course, at one point. It's not only the responsibility of scientists. In a way, if you see that the environmental scientists or who deals with the science, of course, they give all kind of data. Actually. They give a data what all the way that the global warming exists, what all the way the sea level of the water level increases, what all the climate changes happening in the world, what about the greenhouse effect. So these are all the things they give us a data. Now, the social scientists, particularly in relation to the philosophy, a person who is very much interested to learn religion, suppose how the sense. We must change the mind. We must make some kind of changes within us. Otherwise, there would be no change or no way to protect the nature. So now here, Jain philosophy makes that role, of course. It's just we take one, we can say that one piece, just the one thing. I'm just making a cherry pick. It's a kind of cherry pick, I would say that. The Jain philosophy we have taken today as a cherry pick. Now, how Jain philosophy emphasizes on environmental stewardship, environmental protection. Now, in the same way, we can take from every religious tradition and philosophical tradition spread. Now, the change is very important as an application here. The self-realization, the change is very important. Now, if we just do that, definitely there would be some way that we may able to protect the nature. Somehow we can reduce what all the problems that we undergo. This is what the Jain philosophy emphasizes here. This is the way we understand the relevance of Jain philosophy and, of course, the philosophy of Nyaya in relation to the sources of knowledge. Now, when I relate to the statement, the quote of Mahatma Gandhi, it is important for us to kill our greed. We must overcome our greed. This is what Jain philosophy emphasizes that. Jain means conqueror, the person one who conquers, one who comes out the green. That is most important here. That's what the five important philosophical aspects that I have highlighted here. There are multiple. The five, three Ratnas, Pancha Mahavratas, five Mahavratas, great war, Parasparokraha Jivanam, Jivadaya, and Maitra. All the five philosophical aspects of Jainism support environmental protection, environmental stewardship. Let us take as a challenge. Let us try to understand it, how we understand, we try to learn from philosophy of nature, and let us put it in our day-to-day life as a practice. That's it. Only one thing that I want to think about as an application. Many philosophical religious traditions support environmental protection, particularly known as environmental stewardship. It is our responsibility. I would like to conclude here. Thank you for Mudak Trainer Academy for giving me opportunity to talk and explain very briefly how Indian philosophical traditions, particularly Nyaya and Jainism, support the environmental stewardship. This is most important. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening.